Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Phantom. I hope you guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a really good week so far. Summer is in full swing. A lot of that has nothing to do with the video. Sometimes I just don't know what to say. So I'm just going to jump right into things. Before we get into the guts of today's video, I want to remind you guys about the Destined Rivals Master Set giveaway. We are giving one lucky subscriber an entire Master Set of Destined Rivals. It's all filled out. Everything that you can pull from a booster pack is in this binder right here that was beautifully custom etched for us by the Unlucky Collector. You can find him on Instagram at the Unlucky Collector. We give away a master set every single set release, and he does all the etch work for the binders. I have no idea what he's going to do for black and white. That is going to be very interesting. But this has every hyper rare, every illustration rare, every special illustration rare. They're all in here. And if you want to win, all you got to do is just make sure you're subscribed. That is why you have to be, I mean, you got to do that to enter, like one lucky subscriber. So scroll down, hit that subscribe button, and then this is the video that you want to leave a like and a comment on. I'll also link it in the description, but this is the thumbnail. This is what it looks like. Beautiful, beautiful thumbnail, right? So subscribe, like, and comment. Boom, you are entered. We're going to announce the winner on Friday, July 3rd. Fanny, that's a long time. I know it is a long time, but I'm leaving literally in 2 days to take a little mini vacation before card party. Good news is I spent pretty much all day yesterday recording videos, so there will still be content while I am gone. I am trying this thing where I can properly be prepared, so I will still be having videos that go out there, and then I'll probably do some stuff down there, maybe some lives at card party or some shorts. I don't know, give you guys a feel. That has nothing to do with this video. I want to talk about some Pokemon cards that are just continuing to just woo. I mean, I don't know what woo means, but it means they keep going up in a market where a lot of singles are crashing and retracing and going backwards. These Pokemon cards continue to grow, and there's a multitude of reasons behind it. Now, when I talk about the Pokemon card market, which I love doing, I tried to be as careful as I possibly can. Number one, because I don't want to insinuate, I don't know if insinuate is the word, but I don't want to give you the feeling of FOMO. I don't want to make it seem like you need to buy cards right now or you're going to miss out. That is definitely not what I want to do. I also don't want to be the cause of something spiking in price. That is not something I want to do either. Now, I don't really think that I have the power to make something like that happen, but I don't want it to. I just like highlighting some things in the market that are interesting and trying to connect the dots and see what's going on and why it's happening. And several months ago, I talked about Mega Pokemon. And every once in a while, we'll record videos where I'm like, hey, just keep an eye on these. Maybe now's the time you want to start paying a little bit more attention to them. And holy buckets, Mega Pokemon was I mean, duh. Everybody probably was like, Fanny, you're not a genius. Everybody knew Mega Pokemon were going to blow up. As soon as they announced Mega Pokemon returning to the TCG, just like what we saw from Black and White, just like what we saw from Team Rocket, Mega Pokemon have absolutely exploded. And even in a market where a lot of singles are falling down, Mega Pokemon continue to cry. Cry? No, climb. Climb is actually a different word than cry, and a word that makes a lot more sense when used in that sentence. So we're going to go over some of them. For the most part, I'm just going over full arts, but this is not just full art Mega Pokemon. This is like all Mega Pokemon. Like all of them are doing extremely well right now in the card market, and part of the reason behind that, it's twofold. Number one is because of the release of, like, obviously transitioning into a new generation, which is what the assumption is, because there's a new abbreviation that's supposed to be coming out after Black Bolt and White Flare. That remains to be like firmly announced by TPCI. The Pokemon Company has not necessarily divulged that information yet, that we are for sure moving into a new generation. We are putting the pieces together to make that assumption. I think it's a fair assumption, but new Mega Pokemon are going to be returning. There's going to be additional Mega Pokemon that are going to be releasing, and then the game is going back to Mega Pokemon after Black Bolt and White Flare. So our October set release or somewhere around there is supposed to be the next generation where there will be Mega Pokemon returning to the Pokemon TCG, which is very, very exciting. Now, I do think we'll get more information in upcoming Nintendo Directs or Pokemon Directs, or obviously the World Championships, which are 2 months away. Like, it's crazy to think the World Championships of Pokemon are only 2 months away, but a lot of Mega Pokemon, because of that, really starting to take off. And the other reason behind it is because condition for these cards and pull rates for this generation, this era. So during the XY generation, which is when a lot of Mega Pokemon came out, very difficult to pull cards first of all. Like, you would get 4 or 5 hits per booster box. That pull rates were a lot more difficult back then. A smaller sample size, not as many Mega Pokemon that are in existence, especially when it comes to the full art category. If you remember, sets like Furious Fists, sets like Flash Fire, for example, they did not have full art variants. Those full art variants did not start until a little bit later on in the XY generation. So they had Furious Fists, for example, had 2 different variants of a couple different Mega cards, like Heracross, for example, had a regular art Mega and then a secret rare regular art Mega. No full art. Same thing with Phantom Forces. Phantom Forces had a secret rare Gengar and a regular Gengar. Both of them Mega, neither of them full art. Same thing with Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan, regular art and then a secret rare with the gold border. A little difficult to kind of differentiate. Manectric was the other one in Phantom Forces that had the black border, which was the normal rare, normal Mega, and then the secret rare Mega, which was the gold bordered one. But also during that time, while people collected cards, it was not nearly what they are doing now. They were not grading cards as much as they are now. They were not protecting their cards as much as they do now. So finding these cards in pristine condition, very, very difficult. Because of that, clean copies, near mint copies have really started exploding in price because they are so few and far between. They're hard to come by. So looking at this Mega Aggron, for example, seeing what it's done, and really March is kind of the indicator. A lot of people kind of fell off from the market. A lot of people who were buying special illustration rares at the time, moved into stuff like this, moved into full art Megas, moved into tag teams, which have also just kind of really blown up. June of 2024, this is a $21 card, $21.07, and it was already climbing. It was already climbing, so slow organic growth all the way up until about February of this year, March of 2025, and then it really started taking off. So you can see already going up about 20%. It started out at $2, went up to about 24, went up to about 28, so went up about 40%, and then all of a sudden, forget about it, just started exploding. Now it's up 182%, sitting at $59.39 and continuing to climb. And it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next several months, especially once we get those Megas releasing. Here's Mega Mewtwo EX, one of my favorite Megas that has released from Breakthrough because of that Psychic Infinity attack. It was very, very big in competitive play. Not as big as I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. It was very competitive. It did very well, but there was also like times where it just kind of fell apart. It wasn't consistent enough. It had its fair share of issues, but a very cool looking card. There's this one. There's another Mega Mewtwo as well from Breakthrough, but this one started trending up a little bit starting in July of 2024. You can see it was sitting at $28.30, slowly climbed a little bit, and then again in December, a little bit earlier, this one really started taking off. It jumped up 251% now, sitting at $103.83, which is just off of its 1-year high of $105.15, but continuing to climb. So if you have some of these near mint condition, very, very cool to see how much these have grown over the last really 6-7 months. Here's the other Mega Mewtwo that we were talking about, Vanishing Strike. This one, better artwork for a lot of people. This one sells a lot better on outlets like Amazon. This is a huge one on Amazon, has been for a long time, even the regular art one. However, from a competitive standpoint, this one did not do nearly as well as the Psychic Infinity Mega Mewtwo. You can see in July of 2024, it was sitting at $34 and a penny, so already a little bit more expensive than the Psychic Infinity one because of the collectability associated with it. People just liked the artwork better. Relatively flat, started climbing a little bit, so got to about $35, $36 in December, went up about 10-15%, and then really in November started taking off. So a little bit earlier than what we saw from the Psychic Infinity counterpart of Mega Mewtwo, started taking off. It's jumped up over 168% now, really over the last 7 months. So sitting at $93.51 currently, just off of its 1-year high of $94.71. Not super liquid. None of these are super liquid, but also the reason behind that is because there's not a whole lot of near mint copies that become available, especially on TCG Player. You can find them looking around on eBay, maybe looking around on some other like outlets, you know, if you look on Instagram or you look on Facebook or at card shows, places like that, but not as much that are popping up on TCG Player, which brings a lower sales volume. Here's the Mega Galate EX from Roaring Skies. Very cool looking card, never competitive whatsoever. Relatively flat from June of 2024 all the way up until December of 2024. Again, just like what we saw from some of these other ones, this was a $14 card, which is relatively inexpensive for the amount of just beautiful artwork that these cards feature. Really cool looking card. And then in December really started taking off a little bit more liquid because more copies are kind of pop up a little bit. Mega Galate, like I said, not the most competitive card, so it wasn't used a whole lot, kind of just a collection piece for a lot of people, but now it's jumped up 315.69%, which is absolutely insane, sitting at $59.61 currently and continuing to climb. Here's the Mega Sepcial right here, this one from Ancient Origins, I believe. Very cool looking card. card, started climbing in December, just like what we saw with some of these other ones. It was already trending upward a little bit, though. If you look in June of 2024, it was sitting at $29.82, and then by the time December hit, it was already close to $40. So at that point in time, it was already up almost 50%. Now it's been climbing quite a bit more. It's up about 196%, and really, the great thing about this, or the most surprising thing about this, is you're not really seeing these cards level off at all, like what we've seen from a lot of the special illustration rares and the illustration rares in the market that have leveled off or retraced and then leveled off a little bit. These ones continue to climb at higher price points. So this one up 196% now, really over the last 6 months, sitting at $88.24. That's an all-time high for that one. Here's the Mega Latios EX with Sonic Ace. This one also not a competitive card at all, did not do very well, but it was a very cool Mega Pokemon card, relatively inexpensive for a long time. You can see in September of 2024, it was only $16.98 and was actually trending downward. So unlike what we just saw with that Sepcial, unlike what we just saw with that Galate, this one from June of 2024 all the way up until September was actually starting to trend downward, then started going a little bit up, and then in December again, really started taking that next step forward. It's jumped up 170% right now. It's sitting at $55.80. That's an all-time high for this card and continuing to climb. Here's the Mega Tyranitar EX from Ancient Origins. This one also one of my favorite. I love the artwork of it. It does not, the one thing I don't like about this, and you can let me know if you agree with this in the comment section down below, and this might be what's holding this card back a little bit. It is not that different since it is a dark Pokemon, and it's got a lot of dark outlook or artwork associated with it. Since it is dark, there's not a whole lot that differentiates it from the regular art variant. So the regular art Mega Tyranitar, while it does have obviously some lighter colors associated to it, this one, I don't think there's enough that differentiates it, which kind of might hurt it a little bit. Relatively flat, you can see from June of 2024 up until September of 2024, was retracing a little bit in November into December, actually was trending downward a little bit and then started taking off. So it was at $35.05. It's over doubled in price, so it's still doing extremely well. Jumped up about 127% now over the past 6-7 months and sitting at $79.65 and continuing to climb. Here's the Mega Gardevoir right here. There were two different variants of this one. This one is the one from Primal Clash. Mega Gardevoir EX did do decently in competitive play, and you can see already trending up a little bit in June of 2024. It was sitting at $22.33. Continued to climb a little bit. This was more of a late bloomer. You can see it starting to take off in March of 2025 as opposed to December, which is when a lot of these other Mega Pokemon really started taking off, and then it backed off a little bit at the end of March, then started taking off again. Now it's sitting at $64.65, so this one's up about 189.5% and continuing to trend upward. Here's the Mega Rayquaza EX. I wanted to put this one in here despite the fact that this one already started out more expensive. So this card really started spiking a long time ago, and you can see that if you look at June of 2024 when it was sitting at its one-year low of $150-165. It got bought up a little bit, jumped up to about $180, and then started retracing until December. This card already a lot more expensive. Beautiful card. Emerald Break, one of the most important attacks the game has ever seen, which is why it did get a reprint in Celebrations. If you remember, the Mega Rayquaza regular art got reprinted in Celebrations, and even that card is doing really well right now. But in December of 2024, it started taking off again, and now it's jumped up to $203.34. So about 34% growth, which you might be like, well, that's nothing compared to the 100-200% growth. But this card also started out over $100 more expensive than what a lot of those other cards are started out as. So this one definitely making a lot of noise. Here's the Mega Ampharos from Ancient Origins, another really cool looking card. In June of 2024, it was sitting at $15.60, a little bit less expensive than some of these other ones, and it was relatively flat. It did trend up a little bit, and then November started taking off a little bit more. So only selling a couple copies a week. Again, there's not a whole lot of near mint quantities go as far as that goes available on TCG Player, which is why you see slow growth from some of these, but just like dramatic price growth. $47.06 is where it's currently sitting, up about 199% and continuing to trend upward. The Mega Alakazam, a fan favorite for a lot of people. This one trended up a little bit later. You can see in June of 2024 it was sitting at $19.75. Didn't really take off until March, but saw some steady growth from June all the way up until March. Grew from about $19-20 up to about $35, and then when March hit, it really took off. Now it's up 272%. This one from Fates Collide, sitting at $73.70. Very cool looking card. Then we've got the Mega Gyarados EX from Breakpoint. Not a card that was competitive by any means, but a card that people love because of the artwork. In June of 2024, it was sitting at $32.32, so a little bit more expensive than some of the other ones that we were talking about, but it was growing pretty organically from June of 2024 up until December of 2024. You can see it going up about 20-25% there, and then really started taking off after that that in March, got bought up a little bit, jumped up to that $89.60 price point before retracing a little bit. Now it's sitting at $86.83, so still up 169%, but you can see less sales because less quantity available. So those blips that we see are probably people taking advantage of buying up all the available quantities of near mint listings on TCG Player, which impacted the price a little bit, but it is still moving at higher price points. And then we were looking at a couple of regular art ones as well. Here's the Mega Charizard EX from Flashfire. There were 2 different variants of this one as well. So there was the regular art one. There was actually 4 different variants of this one in Flashfire. There's the blue one, and there's the red one, the X one, and the Y one. We're looking at the blue one right now, this variant, and then you also have the secret rare variant with the gold borders. This is just the regular one, so number 69 out of 106 in June of 2024. This was already a $96 card. And the great thing about this one is it did get reprinted. It got actually put into battle decks that got put out into the secondary market, and it got put out, those battle decks got put out pretty late after Flashfire had already released. Flashfire was one of those sets that started out relatively in stock, but disappeared stock-wise fairly quickly, and then really started climbing in price. It was really the first time where you saw a lot of people kind of taking advantage of the market. June of 2024 all the way up until March of 2025, it was growing. It was $96. It grew up to about $120 at that point in time, so about 25% growth, very organically, and then started getting a lot of attention to it, like a lot of these other Mega Pokemon, and then took off. Now it's jumped up 116.5%, sitting at 208.86 and continuing to climb. Here's the Mega Gengar that we were talking about before from Phantom Forces. Again, this is just the regular art variant of it, not the secret rare, not the gold bordered one. In June of 2024, it was sitting at $34.32, which actually isn't that bad for this card, and relatively flat up until December. It had grown about 15-20%, but not like what we're seeing from some of these other ones, and definitely not like what we're seeing from December on when it comes to this Mega Gengar. Then it took the next step forward. Now it's jumped up almost 200%, with most of that happening over the last 7 months, sitting at 102.76 and continuing to climb. And I did want to throw a primal in here as well. These aren't necessarily Mega Pokemon, but it was another variant of Mega Pokemon. So we had the Primal Kyogre and we had the Primal Groudon. This is just the regular art Primal Kyogre from June of 2024 up until December of 2024. Very, very flat. You can see it hit its 1-year low in there at $16.04, and this is just a regular art variant, so not the full art variant. Then really started taking off in December. You can see kind of at the end of November there, all of a sudden 9 copies being sold, where the norm is typically 3 or 4, but with some of these cards that have a little bit more age to them, the amount of near mint copies being listed on TCG Player is much fewer. So it is a lot easier for people to kind of buy up that available inventory and then relist at higher prices. I'm not saying that's what happened with this one, but it is very possible that it was. And it's very possible that it happens with a lot of Pokemon cards that are out there that have less quantities available. And if demand is there, then they start getting purchased at those higher price points, which is why you see dramatic shifts in the market on a lot of cards. A lot of times you'll see a market correction or a market retrace depending on the quantity that is being available on TCG Player. So this one jumped up 244% now, with most of that happening over the past 7 months. It's sitting at $57.95, just off of its high point of $58.51. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Pokemon does release these upcoming mega sets, to kind of see what they will look like, because we have had special illustration rares, we've had alternate arts. Obviously that's going to play an impact on the artwork. What are they going to do with Mega Pokemon moving forward? What Mega Pokemon are they going to be adding? What the market looks like as far as those chase cards go. Will they be the chase cards? There's a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of speculation, but that's what makes it fun in the market. So you can let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a really long way for the algorithm. Tell your friends. That's it. I'm going to stop selling out now. I love you guys. Thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. Till next time, peace.